This is TV 10 and 55 Focus, a program dealing with issues affecting everyone on Long Island and the tri-state area. Now your host, Richard Rose.
Hi, I'm Richard Rose and welcome to Focus. Before we get to our guest, we want to talk about the issue that will dominate our conversation today. The recent decision by Nassau County Executive Ed Mangano to put forth a plan to close half of the precincts in Nassau County right at a time that the police unions claim that burglaries are on the rise. Our Christina Renault has more.
Police in both Nassau and Suffolk counties have a big problem on their hands, a rise in crime, specifically burglaries. Nassau is reporting a 69% increase in the first 6 weeks of the year. David Karras says he sees it in his community.
I've seen more houses being broken into, cars being broken into, personal items being stolen.
That's why David and his son Kevin came to a rally at Nassau County's 6th Police Precinct in Manhasset to speak out against Republican County Executive Ed Mangano's plan to turn the 6th, the 1st in Baldwin, the 8th in Levittown, and the 5th in Elmont into community policing centers, staffed by just 2 officers, a move Democrats like legislator Wayne Wink says is outrageous.
They are crimes of invasion. They're crimes in our homes, and they're crimes that quite frankly, cry out for better law enforcement, for more law enforcement at a time when the economy is pushing people to the brink.
And where are police seeing more activity in communities like Jericho, Plainview, Bethpage, and Baldwin? The reasons could be because you can get higher prices these days for precious metals. Or it also could be this mild weather as opposed to last winter's snowy weather, which could have acted as a deterrent for burglars. But County Executive Ed Mangano told the News at 11, we take burglaries very seriously, and this is exactly why my plan reassigns 48 police officers from behind desks to assist the public in their neighborhoods. But for union officials, this is just more rhetoric.
We are now becoming a reactionary police department, not the proactive police department that the residents of this county have come to expect and demand.
In Manhasset, Christina Renault, TV 10 and 55 News.
And with that, we're happy to introduce and have as our guest today, it's our pleasure to introduce Peter Schmitt. He is the presiding officer with the Republican majority in the Nassau Legislature, and welcome to the show, Peter.
Well, thank you for having me.
You've been here many times before, yes, and we're still talking about some of the same issues.
First time as presiding officer, though.
Yes, first time as presiding officer. Congratulations on that. And some people say, be careful what you ask for, though. And now you're presiding officer, and look at what you have to deal with. This huge deficit and these kinds of complaints that we hear every week. First of all, your take on the police unions basically claiming that this is the wrong time to close 4 precincts with burglaries on the rise.
You know, I have to tell you, the police unions, specifically the PBA under the leadership of Jim Carver and the superior officers under the leadership of Gary Leonard, they are really acting in the most irresponsible, disingenuous way that I have ever seen an organization act on. They represent the police, the police of this county. And to act the way they're acting and to spread the misinformation that they're spreading, and in some instances downright lies, where they know better.
Can you give me a couple examples of misinformation lies? Do you dispute, first of all, them saying the burglars are up for 6 weeks?
They are claiming that closing of precincts will mean less police, and it will mean increased crime. Nothing could be further from the truth. They are discounting the fact that they have to understand that the last time that the precincts in this county were aligned was in 1972. That's 40 years ago. Now, 40 years ago, there was no internet, there was none of the technology available. Just in the 16 years that I've been on the legislature, I have voted for, and we have voted for over $100 million worth of improvements for our Nassau County Police. We have put computers into the police cars. We have built a state-of-the-art public safety center. We have a new $25 million radio system, communication system that's up and running. We have a new emergency management office, all state-of-the-art. And if necessary, we have the Homeland Security Office right there in Bethpage. All of this linked together. We have a program called Shot Spot, where if a shot is fired in the neighborhood, it instantly locates for the police officers what street or where that shot was fired. That's now in the police cars. So those police cars are roving precincts. Now, the county is divided into 177 sectors, and each sector has a car. When those precincts close, there's still going to be 177 sectors. There's still going to be 177 police cars. And the only change is going to be that there will be 48 more police officers on the street. And the police unions don't like it because they've had a good run. I would call it feather bedding at this stage of the game. You got people making $200,000, $250,000, $300,000 a year, sitting in a precinct house at 3 o'clock in the morning, doing God knows what. They seem to think this is Barney Miller, where everybody just or Mayberry, where everybody just sits around the precinct house and has a grand old time. And it's not that way. And we're going to squeeze them out of there. We're going to get them off of there, with feet off the desk, out into the street, work. And they don't like it.
So you're not mentioning any words there, that's for sure. You know, you do have some citizens, though, who come to some of these public hearings and they're being persuaded by some of these arguments they're hearing from the police unions. They're concerned that just even the symbolic presence of a building that is named a precinct makes a difference in deterring crime. What is the difference between a precinct and what will take its place now?
The precinct serves no purpose in deterring crime. Let me give you an example. If your house was right next door to the precinct and you were having trouble, some kind of trouble, you call 911. The call does not go to the precinct. The call goes to the 911 call center, which routes it to the sector car, and the sector car answers your situation. The guys sitting in the precinct house have no idea that anything is even going on in the house next door. So closing brick and mortar and obsolete, closing it down, pulling the sworn personnel out of there, putting them back into the streets, enticing by an early retirement incentive or whatever actions we have to take, the most highest paid ones to leave and retire. At the end of the day, there'll be 48 more police officers in the street, there'll be 4 less precincts that we have to support, and there will be 100 less highly paid bodies on the payroll, and that's where the savings comes from. And it's savings of up to $20 million a year.
From closing 4 of the precincts? From
closing the precincts and getting these highly paid police officers out of here.
So I guess where people wonder, they wonder what goes on at a precinct in the first place that you would save this kind of money.
Well, first of all, you're saving it on the staff. You're 100 less bodies. And what goes on in the precinct, everything that goes on in the precinct is you know, you go there for an accident report form. You're going to be able to get that online starting next month. Any activities that go on in the precinct will be merged into the other 4 remaining precincts, plus these new community policing centers.
Like processing people. Any concern that there'll be overcrowding of processing people?
No, because that's another thing.
That's
another thing where the unions are putting out this information, and they should know better than anybody that when most of the arrests, not all, but most, if you're arrested for a felony, you were taken to Mineola, to police headquarters. Why? Because at the end of your booking process, you have to be arraigned, which means you have to stand in front of a judge. And if the judge is not available, you go into the correctional facility until he is. And so there's no way that you will be let go with an appearance ticket at the precinct house to roam the streets. But that's what they put out there. DWI arrests all go to Mineola to get processed. So what have you got? Yes, you pick up a kid in the park with an open can of beer, and they take him to the precinct, and they process him, and they give him an appearance ticket. Well, guess what? Whose kid is he? He's in the area serviced by the precinct. So there's very few instances where people are. I'd ask the people here, ask yourselves: have you ever been to a precinct house? Most of the people watching this show have never been to a precinct house.
Except for maybe a traffic report.
If they need to get an accident report form.
So now this airs Sunday. Right. Tomorrow, Monday, it's supposed to come up before the legislature.
Yes.
Majority Republicans, 10-9.
Right.
Are you going to pass this through? This closure of precincts?
It's on the calendar for Monday, as long as everybody's there. You know, I never know. I mean, I got to wait till Monday morning, make sure I got 10 in the seats. Somebody's sick, somebody doesn't show up. We've gotten over the last two and a quarter years no help from the Democrats at all, and I don't expect any help on this.
There's some concern that maybe some Republicans might be wavering on it. Some of them, in particular, Joseph Belisi, have had strong support from police unions, former officer.
No, he hasn't. That's untrue. The police unions have never supported Belisi. They have never supported him, not any of the times that he has run for office. They've always gone against him and gone with his opponent, including in the last election that we just came off of.
But he has indicated that, you know, this is a hard one for him.
Yes, it is, and I appreciate that. He's got a lot of anguish because he was a police officer for 33 years, and he's got a lot of concerns and a lot of anguish, but he's reviewing all the testimony and he's looking at everything, and I expect that he will be he will be where he has to be comes Monday.
So if you have the people in place and all the members are there, you expect to pass this through on Monday?
If my members are comfortable having this called on Monday, then it will be called on Monday and it will be passed.
All right.
Now I got to tell you, once we pass that, on Monday, that we will have then achieved about $150 million in recurring savings. That savings that come up each and every year through cutbacks, through layoffs, through the merging of these precincts. And in each and every case, it's been by a vote of 10-9. The 9 Democrats have not voted for one thing that would help this county, nor have they offered any alternative plans.
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit more because now there's a whole partisan divide over what should be done about giving property tax refunds to the citizens of Nassau County. And we're going to bring that up with our guest, Peter Schmitt, the presiding officer for the Nassau Legislature, when we'll return right here on Focus.
TV 10 and 55 Focus now continues.
I'm Richard Rose. We're back with our guest, Peter Schmitt. He is the presiding officer for the Nassau Legislature, leading the majority Republicans. They have a 10-9 majority, a very slim majority. And meanwhile, there's also this retirement incentive package that's been offered to police officers that could be lucrative for someone who's been there 20 years. Newsday estimating that the average salaried person of 20 years could get $320,000, and I guess they'd be able to keep their pension too, right? Explain a little bit about that package incentive offer, and where does that stand right now? Is the county saving any money from it yet?
No, it's coming to the legislature, as a matter of fact, Monday, and it is a county-funded early retirement incentive. Now, under the union contracts, when the police retire, they have a cap on termination pay, sick time, unused vacation time, and so forth, and that cap is twice their salary. So this early retirement incentive will offer them a cap, just one time, of 2.5 times their salary. And it also gives them $1,000 for each year of service.
So a bit sweetened in order to get them to take the offer so that the county can save, what, millions perhaps?
Millions.
And how would you say, how does that money add up to savings over time?
You have most of the personnel that we're looking to take out of the 4 precincts are what we call superior officers. And I should mention to you that those sworn personnel in those precinct houses never, ever leave the precinct. Never. During their shift. They don't go outside. They don't do any police work. They are just in the precinct.
What do they do?
Well, what do they do? They shuffle papers, I guess. I don't know. They process. I mean, you have lieutenants making $250,000 a year processing. It's absurd. So pulling them out, and they're going to take the police officers that are there and put them back on the street, as I indicated before. By offering this early retirement incentive, you get that lieutenant to retire. Hopefully, he'll retire.
And that could save the county how much if you met the goal?
If he's making $250,000 a year and he's off the payroll, just that one guy saves us $250 a year. So it'll be 100 people off the payroll, highly paid police officers off the payrolls, captains, deputy inspectors, generals. I don't know whatever.
That'd be like $25 million if my math is right.
Right, but minus the cost of the payout and so forth and so on. So it's estimated, and they've been very careful in their estimations in saying that it could save up to $20 million. So the Democrats jump up and down and they say, "Oh, we're not going to save $20 million. You may only save 13. You may." Well, hey guys, $13 million is nothing to sneeze at. 20 is better, but $13 million is $13 million. Where's your plan?
Do you feel that the Democrats, sort of knowing that they're in minority, are raising these kinds of criticisms, knowing that whatever it is they would propose isn't likely to pass anyway because they don't have a majority vote?
In my judgment, what the Democrats have done is they have embarked and continued this whole time since they became the minority. They have embarked on a course of destruction. They want to bring the county down. They want to see Mangano fail at all, no matter what the cost to the taxpayers of this county.
Is it Ed Mangano's fault? I mean, the Democrats say it's mismanagement, that the deficit got worse under Ed Mangano than it was under Tom Suozzi.
They couldn't find their way out of a paper bag. I got to tell you, to turn around and say that this deficit is Ed Mangano's fault, I can't even say that it's Tom Suozzi's fault, but it's more Tom Suozzi's fault than it is Mangano's. I mean, the county's been hit. Suffolk County's going to come out very shortly, I understand, and announce that they have a huge deficit too.
Could be $300 to $400 million also.
There you go. They're following us. Now, last year, for example, and we're going to get hit again for next year, the cost of the pension went up. The cost of the health insurance went up, the premiums for the health insurance for the employees. The state comptroller just announced that your contribution to the pension system will go up. Those things together last year, which is this year's budget, $100 million.
Do you think pension reform should take effect with current people who are receiving pension benefits?
They can't.
By law?
By law.
I mean, do you think there should be any attempt to change the law, even if it's a constitutional
Well,
amendment?
they could try, but it's not going to fail because it's not going to work because there's a constitutional issue involved as well. Public employees' pensions are guaranteed under the state constitution. What they can do is start a new tier and have them have however they're going to alter the benefits, whether Cuomo's way is a fixed 401k type of package, and then you embark on, like we're doing with the police, you embark on a series of let's entice the higher paying old people to get out so we can fill the ranks with these younger people in the newer tier that costs us less money.
Do you find it odd to be in this position and have to be pushing for these cuts with police? Because, I mean, Republicans, of course, are known for being conservative and pro-law enforcement and for, fighting crime and making sure the people are safe in their communities.
Well,
that's long been a standard bearer value for Republicans. Do you find
yeah.
yourself in a difficult position
Yes.
having to be the enforcer of this?
Yes, we do, and that's why you have many of my members have a lot of anguish about these proposals. On the other hand, we have always supported the police and supported the police department, but I have the union leadership on record at our budget hearings as saying that we should raise taxes on the people of Nassau County to give them raises, as that their contract calls for. That right now they're not getting because NYFA has issued a frozen wages. And I sit there and I wonder, look at them and I say, I wonder what country they're from or what planet they are, where their head is. Do they not know what's going on out in this county? Now, a lot of them live in Suffolk County, so maybe they don't. I don't know.
The people of Nassau County can't afford a property tax?
No, and I look and see, the average salary for a cop with his benefits and his pension and his overtime and everything else, $195,000 a year. These superior officers are getting $200,000, $250,000, $275,000, $300,000 a year, and they're standing in front of us telling us we should raise taxes so they can have more. Enough is enough. That's my attitude. Is enough is enough, and right now we're in a stage where it's enough. And no, you can't have any more. So now they're supposed to be in the street. They're supposed to be writing tickets. They're supposed to be ensuring our public safety. That's their job. If they don't like it, quit. There's plenty of people who line up to get into the next class because it's a great job.
All right, we have to take a break right now, but we're here talking with Peter Schmitt. A lot more to ask him about when we return on Focus.
TV 10 and 55 Focus continues.
And welcome back. We're here with our guest, Presiding Officer Peter Schmitt from the Nassau Legislature. Another debate. This past week, Democrats staging a news conference saying that County Executive Ed Mangano refusing to issue about $20 million in refunds, saying that there's nearly $15 million that he could release right away, and then they could get the rest out of the general fund from cash reserves to give to people who are owed property tax rebates, who had challenged their property tax assessments, and they're supposed to get refunds. And then the county executive, Ed Mangano, saying the real problem is that the Democrats won't agree to the higher borrowing that he needs to do to pay for it. Where does that all stand right now?
That's correct. For 10 years that that the Republicans were in the minority, we always supported the bonding that was necessary to settle these tax certiorari cases. That borrowing has cost this county, put this county over $1 billion in debt, and it has to end. So Mangano has developed a plan where he wants to, and NYFA has approved it, where he wants to clear up the backlog, the past cases, by bonding his settlements the way it's always been done, and then get to a point when there is no backlog that we go into a pay-as-you-go into the future, which is...
But you have a majority. That's not enough? What do you need?
That's not enough. You need 13 votes
more
to bond, so the Democrats are throwing up every obstacle that they can.
You need a supermajority?
You need
right.
a supermajority.
So you need some Democrats.
So he sent us a big bond and a big settlement, but they sent it globally. It was just one big package. And the Democrats complained, and with some merit, that they wanted individual. They want to see who's getting what, which is due diligence. I don't have a problem with that. So they have now sent the backup information, which my staff is going over, and hopefully we'll finish tomorrow, because it's very complicated, and there's $50 million in residential tax certiorari proceedings. I don't know how many pieces of property that is, but we have, as legislators, we have to look. I have to make sure I'm not voting on my uncle's house to give him a refund.
Otherwise, we got a news story.
Otherwise, yeah. So you got to recuse yourself, and all of that. So it's complicated. But once again, the Democrats, interesting, they say, we can't do this because we don't have the backup.
So what's going to hapen then?
Well, we'll find out on Monday. I never know. The Monday, they'll have the backup. We'll see what else they come up with, And we're going to call it, whether it's Monday or at the following meeting. We're going to call it, and if they want to vote it down, so be it. Vote it down.
Now, let's move to another issue that has a lot of people going, look at that already. Veolia Transportation saying that they may have to cut back some routes come April because they're losing a lot more money than they had expected them to lose. And of course, people who are opposed to letting an independent company run the bus service instead of the MTA in Nassau County is that in time they're going to do this. They're going to be a private company, they're going to cut back, they're going to raise fares. And here we are just a couple of months into the contract, and they're already talking this kind of talk about cutting back routes. Do you have any regrets about them becoming the operator of this bus system, and what do you think of what they're talking about?
None whatsoever, and we knew that the day we voted to approve giving them the right to run Nassau's budget. That was on the table. They were straight up about that by the end of this time, that they would be after surveying and getting to know all the routes, that they would be making adjustments on. These are the routes where people get nuts when they see the buses running empty.
There's nobody on these
routes.
There's
nobody on the.
So this is a whole lot of much ado about nothing.
And if there's a certain number they say they have to get to make the bus self-sufficient, I think it's 15. So if they have less than 15 riders on a bus, they're going to shift the route. But they add buses to an existing route nearby to take the 10 people or the 8 people are not stranded. And this was right up on the table. And everybody knew about it, and I got to say, I'm very pleased with that vote to bring nice in here. The buses are nicer, they're cleaner, they're running, which wasn't the case under the MTA, and we're saving $35 million a year. Thank you very much.
Meanwhile, you got another big one, hot potato, redistricting. Where does that stand? Because it's supposed to be done every 10 years, right?
Redistricting has to be done every 10 years.
The districts of where the legislators run in have to be redistricted,
They
right?
have to be. We have to adjust our districts to reflect the population as is reflected in the census. So the 2000 and I guess it's the 2010 census is what we're going to use to adjust our district lines. There's a process laid out in the county charter that's quite specific. I have to activate sometime between March and May.
The time's running out on that.
Oh yeah, it's right on us. It's right here. We activate a commission where the minority leader, that's the Democrat, appoints 5 members to this commission, and the majority leader, that's me, appoints 5 members to this commission, and the county executive appoints a chairman. And then this commission looks at the census and looks at our district maps and makes recommendations to us on a new map. We can accept that recommendation or put forth our own, and then we vote. And we're going to follow the process laid out in the charter, which is exactly the process that the Democrats followed 10 years ago. It was good enough 10 years ago when they were in charge. I suppose now it's no good because the shoe was on the other foot.
It's going to be a battle. Everybody expects that. We have just under a minute to go. How many years have you been there now?
I've been there since it started first ran in 95, took office in 96.
You still enjoying this job?
I wouldn't be here if I wasn't. I'm still enjoying this job. I don't like the cutbacks. It's bad news from here on in.
Any good news in Nassau County?
I don't see
just
any
30
good
seconds.
News. I don't see any good news. Not just in Nassau and Suffolk, the state of New York, federally. I don't see. It's all over. I mean, it's just that's why to say it's somebody's fault. It's ludicrous. It's just you're not handing out checks and goodies to people. It's not a good thing right now.
But you're going to be there Monday, showing up to do your job, and we'll be there with our cameras to see what happens.
I'll be there.
All right. Thank you very much
with
for
the big
joining us.
mallet.
You got it. Peter Schmitt, Presiding Officer for the Nassau County Legislature. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
Thank you
having
for
me.
being there. I'm Richard Rose. Be sure to join us next week for yet another edition of Focus.